Houston, we got a problem, man down. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a splendid day. My day could have been a little bit better. It's 30th of April. Tomorrow was the day I was taking the car out from hibernation. But as you may or may have not seen, then we do have a cracked engine mount on the right hand side. So looking in the direction which the car usually drives, so it's on the passenger side then, and that's the left hand side. So what we will have to do before taking her out on the road since October is to actually swap the engine mount out, and I was lucky to see that because I was going through the car prior to taking her out then, and I saw that the engine mount was broke. I've already ordered the spare parts. I will link it down below the numbers. So what is going on here is that we do have arms coming out of the block, we could say, and that's the part that has cracked, and that is then sitting on a rubberized part, which is then reducing NVH, and we have a similar setup on the left hand side. But what I have done is I've ordered the bracket going into the block on both sides, but also the rubber mount on the passenger side that I will switch out as well, because I don't know how damaged that might be or not. I thought it's safest to do it this way. So the intention of today's video and is to get the engine mounts removed and installed with new ones. I think I have them not here. So we will have to jack the car up and have it safely in the air, and then we need to use a jack to lift the engine up a little bit to reduce the tension then on the engine mounts. And then I think we need to remove the wheels and the inner fender or liner, and then to get to the bolts holding those different brackets in place. So that is the intention of today's video. And if you did like it and found it informational, give it a thumbs up. Do remember to subscribe for future content similar to this, or maybe not similar to this, but you get the drift. But with that said, let's continue the video. These are the parts that we will be changing out on the right hand side, meaning the passenger side. So we have this rubber mount, which is fastened to the subframe, I believe. And then we have this bracket, which is then attached to the engine block. And these two are held together with a nut here on top here. And usually when you are changing out your headers, you would remove this shield here. And then from above here, you can reach down to this top nut and loosen it a little bit, and then raise your engine and then change out the header then. But in this case, I don't think we need to remove this heat shield, because I have removed the tire, and there we can see the cracked engine mount, or the bracket that goes to the engine, and there you can see that top nut there. And to get access to that, we need to remove some of these plastic parts here and the inner fender liner, and then we will see how much room we have, or if we need to tackle it from above. So I'll start removing these 3 push pins here, and then we will see how much more we need to remove. There we go. I'll remove the whole fender liner as well, just to be sure that we have removed everything we need. This splash shield here, you can now see it fully now that I have removed the inner fender liner here. It is held with a push pin right here and then one here, but looking into the manual, it seems like there is some sort of a tab on the back side of this, which we need to access from this direction and then push something and see if we can release it. And I don't think I can film this, but I'll show you once we have it removed what I had to do. This is the splash shield, and this is the orientation which we were looking at. So we had one push pin here and one push pin here, and this tab which we needed to reach was this one right here, and that's a little bit difficult to see, but we got it out now, and now we have some more access to see how we can remove the remaining hardware then. Now we can more easily see what we need to remove. So we have 1, 2, 3 bolts holding the rubber bracket, and then we have the top nut which we have been discussing, And then once we have those out, we need to raise the engine slightly to remove the tension then and to be able to swap this part out. And for us to be able to do that with the tools I have, there's a cross member on the underside of the engine which we need to remove, and then we can jack up the engine ever so slightly just to give us some wiggle room and insert the new rubber mount. Now I'm removing the cross member, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 millimeter bolts, and then we also have two 10 millimeter in the back here which we need to remove as well. I promise these are not torqued to specification, and let me guess, the service guy just took his machine and tightened these down. The reason why we want to remove the cross member is to get to the oil pan, and we will use that to gently lift the engine up. I will use a 2x4 on my jack, and then we will lift the engine up once we have removed the hardware needed. So I could remove the top knot by hand, and here we have it. And then this is a piece of the bracket then which just came loose. But as you can see, it was good that I ordered the rubber mount. I don't know if this comes through, but that hardware is bent. What I will do now is to remove the 3 bolts holding the rubber bracket in place. The hardware is now out, and we have the engine supported, but I have not lifted anything up. So I will gently lift the engine up, and then we will remove the rubber bracket and replace it with a new one, and then lower the engine again, and then we will tackle the upper mount. Before I start off with lifting the engine up, there is a fastener holding the cable for the O2 sensor then for the header, and that I popped out, and now we can go ahead and raise the engine ever so slightly. Let's see if that was sufficient. Yes, here we have the rubber mount out. And now I can go ahead and remove the 3 bolts we have here. Damn, those were tight. There we go. And there is a bracket. Let me get the new one, and then we can continue with the reinstallation. And then we will attach the fastener as well for the O2 sensor. And now let's get the rubber mount back in as well. There we go. I just installed these 3 bolts by hand. The bracket was a little bit loose, then I lowered the engine down, and now I will torque these 3 bolts down to specification. I was able to torque down these 3 bolts from here. I thought I'd had to do it from on top, but it was possible with my torque wrench. And same goes for this nut on top here. I was able to torque that down as well. I just had to remove the bracket here holding the brake line, this bracket here, and also removing the brake line from this fastener. Then I was able to move this slightly, and then I had access to this top nut here as well. So everything is torqued down. What's next here is then to reinstall all the liner and splash sheet, etc. She's safely back on the ground, and if you're observant, you can see that we don't have those wheels anymore. We have the OEM raise on, but that is for a different video on why that is. Stay tuned, because we have something happening inside this garage. No, I'm not changing the car out yet, but stay tuned for that. So as you saw, there is not much to it to change out the engine mounts. We need to get the car up in the air, remove the wheels, inner fender liner, that splash guard. We need to remove the cross member underside of the car to be able to raise the engine from the oil pan carefully. And then we have the bolts which we need to access, and that is this, and that is that. I have been contemplating if I should change out the left hand side, the driver hand side as well, but I will wait, and I will not do that because if it's not broke, don't touch it, because we need to retorque everything and so on and so on. So I still have the spare part there, so if I want to change it out, I can do that in a later stage. So that is that. And also I do have a time constraint here on my hand, so that is that with regards to the left hand side, but the process is more or less similar. I did have a quick look. There are some piping potentially that needs to be removed in order to get to the bolts to remove the engine mount and the rubber mount if that is a need. And if you do have any questions, let me know in the comment sections below. And I did not feel or hear anything specific when my engine mount broke. Potentially that the shifter was vibrating a little bit too much or more than usual. I don't know, but again, then I have a loud exhaust and so on, so I didn't hear anything specific. There was no rattles coming from the engine, so I do suggest that you do check your engine mounts once in a while, just to be sure if you have hit a bump or something. I don't know what can cause this type of damage then. But if you did like today's video and found it informational, give it a thumbs up, and also, as I mentioned, leave your comments in the comment sections below, and let's be interactive. And also do remember to subscribe for future content. Something will change in this garage, and that will be an epic video. And I'm not just saying that for me, it will at least be an epic video. But with that said, I'll be seeing you on the next one.